been this for 28 years. You have those first two questions high, and you're going to see it. Right now, with when suicide went to the second leading cause of death for 10 to 14-year-olds in our nation, I remember when it wasn't even reported and not statistically important in 10 to 14.
Yeah.
Now it's the second leading cause. With that being high, if we don't become aggressive in addressing this in a mental health, the rest of the ages are going to start increasing rapidly.
Hello, I'm Tony.
And I'm Casey.
And welcome to Anthony's Way, The Road to Kindness, and our YouTube and podcast, The Way Forward, a Kindness Mission. We want to welcome especially those joining us for the first time. It's great to have you with us. We created Anthony's Way, The Road to Kindness in memory of our dear son, Anthony, with one mission in mind, to help kids with ADHD thrive. Through expert care and compassionate guidance, we developed a supportive roadmap for parents, one that helps them better understand both ADHD and their child. With our YouTube channel and this podcast, we bring expert voices and practical insights to families so they can navigate the ADHD journey with clarity, confidence, and kindness. Before we begin today's episode, we want to let you know that we will be covering a very important and difficult topic, suicide and suicide prevention. September is Suicide Prevention Awareness Month, and we feel it's vital to have this conversation. If at any point during this episode and during our conversation it feels too heavy for you, please take care of yourself. And if you or someone you love is struggling with thoughts of suicide, you're not alone. Help is available in the United States. You can dial or text 988 to connect with the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline right away. For today's episode, we have two wonderful and very caring guests. Neil Harrington, Research Director of North Carolina Child. Hi, Neil. And we also have Clark Flatt, the founder and president of the Jason Foundation Incorporated, a nonprofit formed in 1997 after the tragic loss of his 16-year-old son, Jason, to youth suicide. So why don't we get a little bit of introduction? Clark, why don't you start us out? Just a brief introduction, and then we'll go to Neil. And then we'll get into some further questions.
Yeah, well, first of all, thanks for having me. I appreciate this. It's an opportunity that we talked before. Getting the word out is the most important thing we can do. My name's Clark Flatt. I'm president of the Jason Foundation. I started this in July, actually, of October the 1st, 1997 is our official date. We'll be 28 years old in just a couple of weeks. But it really started a little while before that. July the 16th, 1997 is when I lost my youngest son, Jason, to suicide. He was what I call your all-American kid, and I always have to define that. He was your AB student with a few C's in there every once in a while. He was very active in sports, a lot of friends, no alcohol or drug issues. We were a upper middle income family, a lot of future ahead of both him and his older brother, John. Mm-hmm. A lot I hear from parents that too many times across the last 28 years that never someone that I would have thought would have been even thinking about that. Yet upon July the 16th, 1997, we lost him to what we call the silent epidemic of youth and young adult suicide. And we can get into that, what we're seeing develop across the nation, especially since COVID. We started the Jason Foundation really with the idea of serving Tennessee. We hope to sometime maybe stretch across our state, but we've been really blessed and fortunate. Our corporate home is in Hendersonville, Tennessee, still here, but we have 191 affiliate offices across the country now, located in 38 states, but we serve all 50 states. So we specialize in information tools and resources. We don't do counseling. We try to equip those people to be better able to recognize someone who's struggling and then know how to appropriately respond with that person. So we're been very blessed to work with Neil and his group at NC Child. Those are the good people we get to work with, and like you guys across the nation. So we've been blessed and proud to be on Add What I Can today.
Yeah, well, God bless you, and we're sorry about the loss of your son. And
absolutely.
And we're working towards the same mission of saving as many kids as we can.
Our stories are very similar.
Yeah.
So, okay, so
Neil,
it's your turn.
Yeah. Well, but yeah, echo Clark to begin with. Thank you all for having me on. And to be working with Clark for probably what, a year or two now on this, on Jason Flatt Act, and kind of spreading the word about youth suicide prevention and awareness. It's just a great opportunity to kind of talk about it on the podcast and kind of share with others and really work alongside y'all who are sharing something that's very, very tragic that's happened in both of y'all's lives and for some good. So we're always happy to join and do that. I'm Neil Harrington, the research director at NC Child. So we're a nonprofit child advocacy organization in Raleigh that advocates for policies that improve the lives and opportunities of all of North Carolina's children. So we do our work across kind of all issues affecting kids, right, and really kind of focus on the ones right now that are the most pressing need. And right now that's really looked like childcare and childcare access, youth mental health, including suicide prevention and awareness, and the other kind of larger supports that support children's positive mental health outcomes, and largely kind of child health as well.
Well, we've had some great dealings with your team, Neil, throughout the past 2 years that we've been in operation. So, we appreciate what you do and the support that you're giving to us too. So, very much so. So why don't we go back to Clark? Clark, why don't you share more about the Jason Flatt Foundation and then the Act? Right. And I believe you've gotten it passed in 21 states.
Yeah, we came close to 22, didn't we, Neil?
Yeah, let's talk about North Carolina. What do we got?
That's right.
What's happening?
Yeah.
Well, we came out that one of our major program we have, and we can go into at the end of what else we have. That was one of your questions. Student curriculum. We have first responders, foster care. We have a lot of specialties. But our number one program by far is our providing professional development, in-service training for teachers. Not only teachers, we do a lot of churches who have people working with their youth.
Great.
We've worked with boys and girls clubs, people like that. So, but teachers are our number one. That's where we center it toward. I really believe that by equipping teachers, not to be counselors, and that is awfully important.
Right.
We tell them anytime they do one of our trainings, you're not a crisis counselor when you get through with this. Don't believe you are. Yeah. We're trying to help you be better, more confident, more able to identify a student who might be struggling, or more confident in responding to a student who might come to you. And say that they're struggling, and that's awfully important. I think in my own 28 years of history, I think that equipping your teachers in a state, this is what we try to tell them in North Carolina, equipping your teachers not to be counselors, but better trained and knowing how to appropriately respond to a student who's struggling is the best thing a state can do to help prevent youth and young adult suicide. It's not the only thing. It's not the golden thing that's out there. You do that and everything else is good. But it's the single most action a state can do that will impact youth suicide in their state. And so we train anywhere from 180 to 185,000 teachers a year.
Wow.
That's awesome.
And
all over the United States.
All over the United States. All 50 states we train. We started doing it, of course, very early on, and we found out that teachers were not taking it. They had all these other things they had to do, and so we changed back in 2017, started the Jason Flatt Act. Of course, Tennessee was our first one, where we came in and we didn't add to the number of hours. Every state we've ever been in has some hours that are required and some hours that are electives. You can choose from this list of things. All we did was take 2 hours of the elective, or 1 hour in some cases, depends on the state, and swapped it over to a required subject, which would be youth suicide awareness prevention. Nowhere is it saying you have to use our materials. It would be one approved by the Department of Education and Department of Mental Health in a state that would say, these are the approved online courses that can be self-taught, things like this. So we started in 2017 with Tennessee, and since that time we added 21 states. Great. The last one we added was Rhode Island, and that was right at time of COVID. We stopped everything at COVID. Really because nobody was legislatively wanting to look at anything except things around that. And we just started, actually North Carolina was the one we first started back in to say, now let's address it. And it was such great working with Neil and his team. I met so many passionate legislators over there. I mean, it was phenomenal. But they were on that short calendar this year. And we made it. I think the House went 108 to nothing.
Yeah,
awesome. That was nice. That's nice to hear.
It was great. The House. We didn't have the time. I don't think it was the passion nor the want to. They didn't have the time to move it all the way through the Senate process before they adjourned. So
was that this year?
That was this year.
Yeah.
Okay.
There is a chance, like they'll come back at some point later this fall too to work on the budget. So there's a chance we could still maybe get it through before the end of the year when they come back. So we're working to make that happen.
So did you get a sense or a view of the Senate, what their thoughts were at all or not?
Oh, everything we saw in the Senate was positive. I mean, Neil and them they had me talking on Zooms to the key people. I mean, some of the key senators and the House.
Great.
Nice.
And not a single one was, no, I'm not interested. I don't think that they bought in. I really think it was a matter of not desire, but timing. And this was so close. It's so needed right now. And that this, with what we're seeing now, I've not seen the surge of suicidal ideation in our youth and our young adults. We're talking about all the way up to age 34.
Yep.
I've never seen it like it's been in the last 2 years. I don't mean that right after COVID. It took a while after COVID for it to hit.
Right.
And now we're seeing that. That's why I was pushing it with Neil. I was pushing it so hard because I knew that there's going to be people that it would save this year if there was the training out there. If we could get the word out. Regretfully, we didn't get it, but that's we'll keep trying. We'll keep. And the best thing about it, state can pass this. They can pass it without any fiscal note.
That's nice.
We guarantee it. We've guaranteed it in 21 states, and not a state has ever had to pay. So there's no reason.
There really isn't.
Did you have teachers the schools that just didn't want to deal with the subject matter, like they just didn't want to have anything to do with it at all?
I'll let Neil do that. I saw a little pushback at the first but after that, I forgot the gentleman's name that was the one of the head guys at the superintendent level. He was a little questionable at first, but I thought he was on board. He might have been doing that with me and something else with Neil about it, but I really didn't see. I've seen some states where I've had to go down and to sit across people and say, why, and let's talk in it. I didn't get that. I thought there was a real sense of wanting to pass it and wanting to learn more about it.
Yeah, I think the resistance we've gotten is that we've had to kind of try to overcome is really trying to, recognizing that teachers have a lot of trainings they're always required to take and trying to overcome that fact of it. And one of the things we found out while kind of trying to craft this legislation was there's a provision passed in the budget a couple of years ago, I think 2023, that any legislatively mandated trainings that teachers have to take count towards continuing education units that teachers are already required to fulfill every year. So we're not adding more trainings onto people, onto teachers, right? It's helping. It's requiring them to take this hour of suicide prevention education training every year, but it counts towards requirements that they're already required to have, I think, too.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
The reason that I asked that is that because we have a program with our Orange Hearts of Kindness that we are trying to implement into some of the local schools here, and we don't. As we've said before, like our focus is not suicide. Our focus is on ADHD and kindness. But obviously suicide is part of our story, but we don't talk about that to the schools.
Keep it very positive.
We try to keep it very positive, but even so, just doing that, we've had schools they were like, well, we don't talk about suicide, and we're like, well, we are not talking about it either, but it's hard to even get a face-to-face with them to talk to them about it.
We do a walk a mile for kindness and ADHD in the February period of time.
You might want to remind your schools when you do that, and we did this in North Carolina. You should implement the training for your teachers because it's the right thing to do. That's first and foremost. It's the right thing to do. It'll save lives. There's no doubt about it. It's not guessing. It's not projecting. Not we hope it will do that.
Right.
The second reason, which gets a lot of them who are on the fence line, is the legality of it. Right now, I would tell you 15 years ago, schools and teachers would be sued because student had taken their life, and not always at the school. It could have been the school should have known about it, and judges just dismissed them. They just dismissed them, wouldn't even take it to trial because they would say there was no sense of duty for the teacher. That has changed. The last 10 years, there was just a $5.3 million judgment, and well, it's the first at the end of this year. That was in New England. In New Jersey, $5.3 million against the school and the school system for not appropriately responding to a student who was undoubtedly at risk. And so that's going to happen more and more. And I'm telling one of the questions they ask the school and the school is, have you trained your teachers? This is a huge crisis in our nation. Have you tried to give the tools that your teachers need to help do this? If you say no, you're in really trouble. Yes doesn't mean you're going to get out of it. I tell people I'm not trying to give you the way out of this, but if you say no, then they're gonna. I dread the times, and I've had to testify a couple of times where where they would come in and ask me, our history and what we've seen and the reports from SAMHSA. When you have SAMHSA and CDC talking about training your teachers is one of the best ways, and a school system of just ignoring that, especially once we've already presented it to it. That's what I try to tell them in North Carolina. If something happens there in North Carolina now, and they did not move this training forward, it's not going to be good for the school system that it happens at. But you shouldn't do it because of the legality.
It's right. It is the right. It's absolutely the right thing to do. Because our kids are with they're 6-8 hours a day. They're with the teachers. They're with the school system.
Right.
So it's so important.
Well, in North Carolina, it's the third leading cause of death for your young people.
No, it is.
Yeah.
It is.
We've tried to tell people that all the time, that it's right up there. And it's scary. It's a scary statistic when you sit back as a parent and look at it today.
Yeah. Well, Neil,
go ahead. Yeah, no, I was just going to say, and Clark, the Jason Foundation does surveys every year of teachers that take these trainings, and they show overwhelmingly that they find them effective and helpful. I think, what is it, Clark? Like 80% of teachers who take it say they can better recognize the signs of a kid.
It's 80%. But that's why, and we do this every year. Over 1,000 teachers do our survey, and we do it just anonymously. We send it. The first 1,000 sends it in. We total those. But no doubt they talk about it and they feel more confident about it. Going to a student and saying, "I'm concerned about you. I see some things."
Right.
The thing that people wanted blew me away a few years ago. The number one fear of a teacher was not going and approaching a student. The number one fear of a teacher by far was the bell rings, all the students get up and leave in one setting there, and they come up and say, "Can I talk to you?" And that scares a teacher more than anything when the student approaches them and they're caught off guard and they're not prepared on how to respond to that student. That's where we're dropping the ball. That's where we're dropping the ball. It's not that they're not identified. They don't know what to do once they're identified.
Yeah. And I may be jumping the gun here with this question, but as Clark, as we just spoke about before we started recording, Anthony, he had ADHD, but he never, that we knew of, he never showed any signs of ever taking his life. So is there a section for teachers about that too, or?
Yes, and we talk, we just, and there's the stat that Mental Health America has done this twice on survey. Statistically speaking, 4 out of 5 young people before they attempt suicide will demonstrate warning signs either verbally or physically. Mm-hmm. And so that means 80%, but that does mean 20% will be that impulsive type of action. So not everybody, but to me, 4 out of 5, when we're losing the number of kids we're losing per week, that if I can take, 80% of them and get them help and them not attempt, then that's successful. I'd like to take care of that other, but that impulsive part is tough. That's the ones that have that impulsiveness. That's a harder one, let alone, and we don't have the time at all to get into this. A new field that was dropped on me was passive suicidal ideation. I found out that SAMHSA and the CDC had been diving into it for years, but have not published their stuff. It was back there. So we've been pulling that out of them. And that's something that's where it's not an actual plan to take your life, but the person has developed the, I don't care if this action takes my life. I don't, and that's a tough one, and we're really digging into that one. They're now saying that CDC that could be equal to the active suicidal ideation as far as the number of lives lost. So
wow,
a lot to it.
There is a lot to it, and especially kids that, with the mass number of kids that have ADHD today.
Oh, you put in any kind of extra stressor.
Absolutely, yeah. Especially impulsiveness is one of the biggest drivers for these kids that have ADHD. And depression and the other things that go along with it. So it is very challenging for these kids, and and they're a lot of it. I'm sure from the parent side too. This is an education for the parents. Right. Parents are there too. It's there's signs for parents to watch for all the time too.
I know you address a lot of parents, and let me say this, and I'm gonna be quiet and let Neil talk some. That's one of the hardest things. It's always amazed me. I can take a parent, if they're a teacher or a church school leader or something like that, and put them in a training, and they're eager to learn. They want to learn about warning signs. They're really wanting to pull this because they want to help the kids. I could take that same person and put them in a different room as a parent. You're not here as your teacher, and say, now we're going to talk about how to protect your children from this. It's a total different. It's not my child. We call it the not my kid syndrome.
Yeah.
That's terrible. They really, and I know nobody wants to think about losing their own son or daughter in any way, form, or fashion.
No, of course.
When we're saying there's one of the leading causes of death for our kids out there, and we can learn how to prevent it or how to avoid. That's what we have to get parents to say, wait a minute, this is something positive. It's not negative. I'm learning how to stop something that's nationally. I talked about being a third leading cause of death in North Carolina. It's the second leading cause of death. 10 to 24.
Yeah. Those statistics are so frightening.
They are.
They really, really are.
Are they clearly published enough that people see those stats as much as we need them to see them?
No, they're buried in the Youth Risk Behavioral Survey, and they're unless you're somebody like Neil or myself or something like that, you're not digging into that because you want to read something. No.
Right.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
No, you.
I was saying that's part of kind of our job as an advocacy organization. Right. I feel like is kind of spreading that awareness about these issues, and we have partners that we're working with across the state in North Carolina to really kind of spread awareness about youth suicide and poor youth mental health outcomes in general too, right? Like Clark mentioned, the Youth Risk Behavior Survey, the most recent data from North Carolina from 2023 shows that about 40% of North Carolina high schoolers report persistent feelings of sadness or hopelessness to the point where it's disrupting their lives for 2 or more weeks at a time, right? And those are the kind of precursor emotions that if they go unaddressed, they can lead to kids going to that crisis.
That is a high number. You're going to have suicidal ideation rise. We've been in this for 28 years. You have those first 2 questions high, and you're going to see it right now. When suicide went to the second leading cause of death for 10 to 14-year-olds in our nation, I remember when it wasn't even reported, and that's statistically important in 10 to 14. Now it's the second leading cause. With that being high, if we don't become aggressive in addressing this in a mental health, the rest of the ages are going to start increasing rapidly.
Go ahead, Tony. I'm sorry.
What's the root cause? Why are kids so sad? What's driving that? And
Well, my feelings in this is, first of all, the challenge. It's tougher being a kid. When I was,
absolutely,
it's a lot tougher. It's tougher being a kid. It is really rough. But now what I'm seeing now, and I'm not a COVID scare alarmist. I really hated that. I had people saying they couldn't deliver a paper to us because of COVID. I got really sick of hearing that. But you have kids that were already under pressure, and look what we did. I'm not coming down politically at all,
Right.
Probably the only way we could have responded with our knowledge at that point.
Right.
But we completely dismantled their peer support group.
Yeah.
We did it for almost a year and a half. They were already having issues, and you destroy their social platform. You destroy their interconnectedness, and we're seeing the results of that. And people say, "Well, we're back at school now." You're right, we're back at school, but now we're going to start seeing that disconnectedness even go deeper, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Neil does a lot more research than it.
Yeah, no, I think that's definitely one of the big factors of it is kind of the coming, especially right after the pandemic, you saw a lot of those outcomes and kind of measures of youth mental health kind of spike in the wrong direction, right? And I think it was exactly that. And I think, and it's all kind of related, right? Because I think social media is another one of those factors. If you look at like charts on suicide rates or persistent feelings of sadness or hopelessness or kids' anxiety and depression, they all started kind of spiking around 2010. That's when we started seeing the increase nationally in those states, and that's right around the time when you had kind of smartphones becoming much more ubiquitous, right, and social media algorithms changing and things like that, and now I think you have kids that are on phones constantly, right? There's some national surveys that show huge percentages of kids who spend 7 to 8 hours a day on their phones, and that can kind of take away from opportunities to build those kind of in-person connections with their peers, right? And you can connect online, but you're not getting the same kind of human one-on-one, face-to-face interaction that you get from kind of those really kind of intimate in-person social gatherings. And that's one of the other things we see, right? And we did some focus groups with youth in mainly in like Wake County and here in North Carolina, and kind of two of the top like stressors they reported was one, kind of social disconnection and not having that opportunity to build meaningful relationships with their peers and kind of in-person settings, and then two, kind of the pressure to achieve, right? And kind of there's this huge pressure to
Absolutely.
constantly be achieving, and social media can add into that too, just from the comparisons. I mean, I'm early 30s, and I compare on social media. My high school life was when social media and phones were starting to get a lot bigger, but a lot of kids today are getting phones and much earlier than what I was, getting smartphones in elementary or middle school, and like they're growing up with that kind of that relationship to their phone and being exposed to everything on the internet. And I think that can be bad for mental health outcomes.
Both Neil and myself have been using the 2023 that's the most recent one. Now, but what I've tried to tell people is that's not the worst. We're catching that just as the result of the impact of COVID showing up on our kid, just at the very inside of it. I really believe that when we come out with one in 2025 after that, we want to see these as devastating as these figures are now. If it's done right, if it's done, there are going to be a lot more. Right today, using the 2023 in North Carolina, you average 125 kids who say they've attempted suicide on a day. One single day. Tell me that we don't need to equip the teachers and parents with the information to help these young people and people themselves too.
So as we're going, one of the questions that we did have for you, so for parents, what are some of the warning signs that they can be aware of?
Well, I'll just use those basic ones, and really we don't have, because I'm not trying to hype my website, but you need to go. There's so much.
That's why you're on here.
Yeah, but the suicide threats, and people say, well, that's dumb. And anybody would know a suicide threat. It can be as obvious. You'd be amazed how many times it is, whether they told their parents or not, but they've told one of their friends, they've told their teacher, they've told, I would like to die. I'm thinking about killing myself. That's a big one, but it can be it'd be more subtle. Have you ever heard someone say, nobody would ever miss me if I wasn't here? That's a suicide threat. You're envisioning you not being there. When you hear those types of things from a parent standpoint, I wish I was dead. I wish I wasn't here. Nobody loves me anymore. Those are a veiled type of suicide threat. So you have to act. Previous suicide attempts, everybody thinks that's a dummy one too. Gosh, if we could just stop those second and third attempts that are ends up being, and I hate the word successful, but
Right.
where we miss that first one and we misaddress it. If we know somebody, no matter how half-hearted it might be, in our opinion, you have to take that serious and get that person help. Of course, depression, that's the one across, and Neil would say that, they're working that. Depression across the board, along with anxiety, is the biggie.
So the sad part about it is that we've been only doing this for 2 years, and the last 20 families that we've talked to, 15 out of 20 have told us that their child has told them that they don't want to be here. They're bullied. Mom saves a life, saves her daughter from an overdose, and reaches out for help. I mean, and that's why we're doing what we're doing, to help the families. But I mean, that's a huge number, and that's only a small number when we get the call. So we got to get it way before that time. So what you're doing is tremendous in terms of getting people aware of the situation, training them what they need to be alert for, because we can talk to as many people, and not a lot of people are aware of what the signs are. Like that small hint there, well, that you just mentioned, Clark. I mean, people wouldn't even, no one would miss me if I'm not here. Well, they, depending on how it's said, they might not even think about it. But that's a true sign.
It's a sign for you to say something wrong. Something wrong.
That stop sign comes up and say, stop, I got to deal with this. I don't have.
And the good thing in North Carolina, that's why I'm working with Neil. He introduced us. You guys have, compared to a lot of states, a pretty good resource pile there of places that will help parents. And we just got to connect the people identifying, the teachers and the coaches, parents to those resources.
Right. So one of the things that we found after Anthony died was, it seemed like every time we read a book or watched a TV show or watched a movie, there's something about suicide in almost everything now. And the thing that bothers me the most are the jokes, it's offhanded comments that, that people say that you don't, until you know someone who's died by suicide, I don't think you just notice it, and we're probably sensitive to it since it's happened to us. But like when comedians, or when they go, and that kind of stuff, or well, I should just go kill myself, or something like that. But it's said in a joking manner, and there are comedians that do it, and every time that happens, we just cringe.
It's the wrong thing to do. It's just and they're not thinking. They're trying to make a comedy out of something that's serious.
We didn't realize how invested it was in our society. Until we, it's like, oh my God, we're watching something else, and here it comes again.
Yeah. Well, we've done a long way, people, and I'm not doing it because Neil's on it. I was talking to some people last week about NC Child, the work they do. That we're coming together, and we can change that. But I hate to say, a lot of times it takes people like you guys and us. Yeah. I tell you, when I get through talking with if it was a comedian or not, when I get through, they won't do that on stage again without thinking about us talking and about the pain that brings not only to the family, but to the friends and the community.
Right.
We can change people. I really believe we're in a spot. We're at a tilting place that we can make some great inroads. We've got better resources. In 1997, our resources were terrible. I mean, across the nation, got good resources, good people out there. We just got to connect them. But this thing is, and I'll end with this, my part, and let Neil. We're losing the battle, and it's like having the best army, the best things that you can have, and you can really stop this aggressive enemy, and you don't do it.
No, that's sad. That's really sad. That's heartbreaking for us.
Yeah.
When we see that, it really is.
So, what resources right now are most underutilized for parents or schools?
I'm gonna plug my app that you brought up.
Okay.
I did it at the Senate and the House, and I had a lot of them send me notes that they've downloaded it.
Yeah. So the thing that I liked about that was you have one for younger children. Is there's something for younger children?
You're talking about our student curriculum. We
That's
have a
curriculum.
student,
Okay.
yeah, we have a student curriculum for middle and high schools. It's really good. There's other good ones out there. We don't have the corner on the market. We have a good one, but we have one of the few that are for elementary school and it doesn't talk. The word suicide is not in it, not because we're ashamed of it. It's just the way to really utilize, called Be the Friend, BEE,
like that.
the friend.
Yeah.
It is phenomenal. We've just rolled it out at the fall of last year, and the feedback we're getting from elementary schools are just phenomenal about the kids, and it's all promoting good mental health. It's about being the friend, being watchful. Hey, my friend's having a bad day. Does that mean they're having suicide? No, they're having a bad day. I need to help that friend. But we developed a friend ask out that you talked about at the very first.
Yeah, right.
That thing we did for students, but it's used more by parents and teachers than by students. It is a great thing. They download, and we update it once a year. New stats. It talks about the do's and don'ts, about warning signs. You talk about it goes into depth about warning signs. It goes about what to do should you see them, what not to do when you see them. It connects you automatically to 988 if you need to talk to someone.
Oh.
Really, 988 is not meant just to be for that person in crisis. It could be you wanting to help somebody in crisis.
Mm-hmm.
And so we try to put all that in. It's our app, but it's a great app. It's called A Friend Ask. It's on our website, free download. And it's probably one of our best tools.
Yeah, we'll make sure we get all of these listed
Well,
at the bottom after the podcast also.
Okay.
What I like about Be the Friend, it's about connection, but it's about being kind. Teaches kids to be kind to one another. And that's what we're about. We have to teach kindness, because if you're kind, you can't be mean. I mean, if you care about the other person, you can't be mean.
We try to make it cool. We have a coloring aspect, a coloring book. I had fun on that part. I was like a kid again.
That's awesome.
And to see pictures of these schools have done it with their it's 4th, 5th, and 6th grade type of thing. And see the kids coloring the bees and putting their name on it, because I'm going to be one today, and stick it on a wall or a teacher.
That's cool.
That's cool.
Yeah, that's
really cool. That's really cool.
Oh, we're just looking at our questions real quick. Sorry.
All right, that's all right.
So Neil, we've heard some stats.
Yeah.
Data, just so for clarity, and so everybody understands. Please share the stats so that we here in North Carolina, what are the main stats for suicide and and attempts and all that, so we can get them, because they're so important to know. And we have to. People need to stop and listen to these stats. Please go ahead.
Yeah, it's the starting kind of with youth suicides themselves, right? The number of youth suicides, and the most recent data we have is from 2023, but the number in 2023 in North Carolina, I think, is about 54, which is more than double the number that we had in the state about 13 years ago in 2010. And at the same time, the rate of youth suicides per 100,000 kids has basically doubled as well. And like Clark mentioned, it's not just high schoolers, right? It's as kids as young as 10 to 14, right? I think 2 or 3 years ago, in North Carolina, among 10 to 14 year olds, suicide was the leading cause of death. I think it was about back in 2020 or 2021. Now it's the second or third, somewhere around there. It kind of bounces between those, from year to year. But right, like 10 to 14, just to put in context, that's middle school, right? That's kids that are in middle school, right? You start high school when you're about 14 years old. So that alone, I think, really kind of illustrates kind of the depth of the issue we're dealing with, and how harmful it is. And so the other kind of big statistics that we kind of talk about a lot is, right, the what I mentioned earlier, the percentage of children, of high schoolers in North Carolina who have persistent feelings of sadness or hopelessness, which comes from the Youth Risk Behavior Survey. And in North Carolina, that was about 40% in the most recent data from 2023. And like Clark said, right, that's just basically a year out of, or fully out of COVID, because the survey before that was from 2021, every other year, but 2021 was right in the middle of COVID still, right? So that's really the first time we've seen data outside of COVID. And we'll see when 2025 data comes out next year how it's changed there. And the other kind of main one, other two that I'll talk about, right? The first one is that the number of children with anxiety or depression in North Carolina since 2016 that number of kids has more than doubled. It's increased by about 107% in North Carolina.
Wow.
And across the country at the same time, it's only increased by about 50%. So we're seeing a percentage increase in our state that's much bigger than what we see at the nationwide level overall. And the last one that I talk about is more kind of like access to youth mental health services. There's another national survey that has state estimates called the National Survey of Children's Health. And data from that survey shows that about 54% of kids in North Carolina, so from about 3 to 17 years old, who need mental health care, either report that they had difficulty accessing it or they couldn't access mental health care at all, right? So we have these huge problems with a lot more kids across the state and the country really who are dealing with emotional distress and mental health issues, but they can't access the care that they actually need.
We hear that a lot.
We hear that all the time. Yeah.
Even getting an ADHD assessment is so hard. People are not getting called back. So we found 1 or 2 groups that are always there to help our kids.
Yeah.
When they call us. So, but it's such a challenge.
Is there anything that that NC Child is doing to help get more mental health care for these kids? I don't even have any idea where you would start with that.
Yeah, one of the ways we approach it is kind of looking at services offered through the schools, right? So Jason Flatt Act is equipping, not making teachers counselors, but equipping them with the care, with the skills that they need to be able to talk to kids, help kids, and refer them to the treatment they need. It'd be a lot easier for a teacher to refer kids to the care they need if they had that care in the school with them through a counselor or a school psychologist, something like that. And that's where we've really focused over the past few years, is kind of trying to increase the number of specialized instructional support personnel who are in, so school psychologists, school social workers, school counselors, or school nurses that are in schools in North Carolina. Because we know if we look at the data on those staffing positions in public schools in the state, so the National Association of School Psychologists recommends about 500 students per every school counselor in the state. In North Carolina, there's about 2,000 students per every school. So we're about 4 times the recommended level. It's a similar kind of misalignment between social workers. We're about 4 times the recommended level of students to school social workers in the state. So the legislature has invested some money into filling and expanding those positions, but one of the issues too, especially with school psychologists, is that there's not enough psychologists in the state that are actually trained, that have that specialized training in school psychology to work in the school system.
My next question.
Yes, so part of it is trying to make sure that we're training and increasing that workforce pipeline and doing what we can to improve the workforce pipeline to become school psychologists. Because we have 5 universities that train school psychologists in the state, and they only graduate about 30 school psychologists per year. So the State Department of Public Instruction, the Department of Education in North Carolina, they have some grant programs right now that are kind of trying to cover training costs and other programs that can help mental health professionals reskill to come into the school workforce and really meet those needs.
So more kids need more help, and there's less professionals going into the field to provide the help.
Yeah.
When he's talking about 30 graduating, that doesn't mean all 30 of those stay in the state.
That's exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
They might be going somewhere.
Right.
They could be here just for school and going back home. So
but I think all states are all states having this issue though, with lack of access to mental health care.
And the reason we ask that is because there are not there's not enough therapists or psychiatrists out there for one.
We hear it all the time.
We hear it all the time. And
it was started at the state, and this is his advocacy, but I'll just say what we've dealt with. The governors where it counts. We talked about Governor Lee here in Tennessee. Governor Lee, his own daughter attempted suicide when I first met him back in 1998, and then he became governor. He has been the daylight and dark for the state of Tennessee, along with our Department of Mental Health Commissioner Marie Williams. They have come together. Now we have a trained mental health coordinator in every school.
That's awesome.
But they went to the legislature. This has come over several years of passing legislation and the money to do that. And so it can be done. But But most, we deal a lot with psychiatric providers across the nation. But you'd be amazed the lack of psychologists and let alone psychiatrists
Right.
that are out there. They're just the lack, and it's getting worse. One of it is the money inequity. If you come out as a psychiatrist, you're going to make maybe 140, 150, 160. You come out as an internist, you're going to be right at $300 or more $1,000. And so what do you want to come out as? It's something we got to make it, and they've done a good job. I'm going to say about Tennessee of making it more attractive, just like Neil was talking about paying some of your school or paying if you'll come here in our state and work for a while. And so I think in innovative thinking that way can bring it takes a few years now. You're not going to do it overnight, but you got to get started. You got to get started.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, I mean it's great to teach the teachers how to identify it, but then once they identify it, then you have to be able to get the medical help for the child. Yeah.
So I got one other question that I want to just bounce off you guys. So we talk about school teachers, right? But these kids also are coached by, whether it's playing football, all the coaches that are out there, and not only the coaches at school, but what about all the coaches that do these, after school things? Are you getting to them, or how do we get to them? Because they're with the kids too. I mean, and that might or might not be competitive, but our son played all kinds of sports, played soccer, lacrosse, you name it, he played it. And he was with coaches that were either you knew who understood kids the best, or who were just there to fill time. So how do we get to some of these folks?
I'm going to take my hat off to them. We've been using coaches. I mean, we're partners with American Football Coaches Association.
Nice.
We're partners with NOCAD, which most people don't even know about NOCAD. That's the the middle and high school coaches associations belong to it. There are 160,000 coaches, not just football. They're basketball, tennis, and those people have been phenomenal in helping us get information from us to the local school levels. But I'm gonna plug one thing. You can't announce it. I don't know whether this is gonna show. We're doing a press release this year of a special program. I can't say much about it because we're doing it with the AFCA and one of our clinical partners. That's going to provide. Now, this is for college coaches. What we were asked, there's especially Division II and III schools. We're not talking about the big North Carolina. They have a really tough, and they've come out and said they're small town universities or colleges, and the coaches are seeing this surge of mental health issues on their student athlete, and they don't have the resources. We're going to provide them with a national backup that will help them deal with that crisis, and then help them find resources in their area that will fit whatever the financial situation they're in. So we're working on that for a year and a half, and we're going to do a national press release next week on it. So.
That's congratulations. Because they spend time with these kids all the time. Yeah. I hear it all the time, like, coach really doesn't understand. Well, it's from the ADHD side. The coach doesn't understand my son, and he doesn't want to play anymore. Well, that's shattering for these kids. Yeah. I mean, that's shattering for any child that says, you can't play anymore because you just got a slight behavioral issue. I mean, we really need to teach. So in the whole thing, suicide prevention and training on that, we got to teach coaches that there are behavioral issues that can be worked through if you just have a little bit of patience, because
they want to help. The coaches want to help. They want to help. You just got to give them the tools to help with.
Yeah, exactly.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So for families who may be struggling with access to mental health care, where would you suggest they begin? Like, they need mental health care. What do they do? Where do they go?
Neil might have some. What we always direct our carte blanche answer in any state we're at. Usually, if you go to your Department of Mental Health or Department of Health in your state, and you can get to the right person, they'll have what available resources are there to fit whatever financial situation you're in. I'll brag about Tennessee. Tennessee has the Tennessee Safety Behavioral Net. It used to be just for adults, and now they put it to children. That means that if a kid's here, they don't have insurance, they don't have the ability to pay, we can get them mental health treatment at no cost to them.
That's awesome. So
we've got to do that more. But I'm sure, even in North Carolina, even though we didn't get to that part, Neil probably knows better now. The Department of Mental Health, Department of Health, direct someone to those people, or check with your pediatrician.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what I was going to say. State DHHS, the Division of Mental Health, North Carolina, could have those resources. But I think more a pediatrician, right? That's one of the most important relationships a family can have, is the pediatrician, to make sure that kids are meeting developmental milestones and everything else, right? But they can also refer. They know the other providers in the communities where they work in, so that they can and they know your child too, right? If you're going there, so they might know what the best fit might be for your child too,
So is there anything else either one of you want to share with the audience here that's listening?
Just my shameless plug on my website.
Do it.
That's jasonfoundation.com. And you can go into a lot more of the warning signs and stuff like that, and what you can do as an individual, what you can do in your community, working with your schools, working with your churches. We need it all involved. But
that's one of our questions, actually.
So Clark, is the training program that you give to the schools and the teachers, is that out on your website too?
Yes. You'll see a big box is training.
So
you will have to register. We monitor that. We unfortunately, there's people out there who'd like to harm technology and things like that. So we spend a lot of money making it safe. But when you create that account, it's just so that we know who's into the system, and it's free. You don't have to worry about if it's on our line. If it's online, it's not a cost to you.
Fantastic.
Neil, anything you want to add, my friend?
Anything you're working on that you want us to know about?
Yeah, I think check out. I'm going to plug NC Child's website too, ncchild.org. If you're a family, parent, or kid that's kind of dealing with these issues and want to kind of advocate for change, there's an interest form on our website you can fill out, and I mean, Clark can talk about the Jason Flatt Act better than anybody, so we let Clark go talk to legislators, connect with Clark legislators, so he could tell that story. So we want to do the same for every other issue. So if there's people can tell their stories better than we can tell it. So
educating people.
Yeah, that's right.
Your enthusiasm is outstanding.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
We're talking about Neil.
Yeah,
both of you.
You've made strides like no one else. I mean, God bless. I mean, what you've done and to change and get the biggest thing is we're trying to get the awareness out for ADHD.
You got to get people's attention, and
you've done that. So
Tony, I appreciate y'all. I appreciate Neil. We would have made it to North Carolina hadn't been for NC Child came to us and said, "Hey, we want to do this. We want to introduce to Jason Flatt. We see the importance of it."
We need
good folks, and it's just going to take us all working together.
It is.
Yeah, it will.
We accomplish a lot more when we put our heads together.
Yeah.
So there is one more question that I had that I didn't get to ask before we started closing up. I have heard that the reason that the suicide rates are higher is because our children are more sensitive today than they were when we were growing up.
I think they're more apt to show their sensitivity today than they were. I played football at the time you suck it up. You don't show.
Right.
That was if you showed weakness that way and things. No. I think now kids, and this is good. They've been taught that it's okay to talk about your feelings. It's all right to say I'm hurting.
Yeah.
Rather than just
want them to talk about them. Yeah. Actually.
So we are more. I won't say we're more sensitive. We're more open to talk about it. Yeah.
I think that's ultimately a good thing to be able to, because that's the only way you move past any negative feeling, right? Is not by shoving it down, but kind of bringing it up and talking about it and working through it.
Right. It was disheartening for me to hear somebody say that, though. It was like,
that's not the case.
That's not right.
You got to be tough to be a kid in today's world. I mean, everything thrown against you. Back we'll get a little risque. Back when I was at college, if you something on a sexual disease thing, you got a shot and everything was fine. Now you die.
Yeah.
It's the pressures, the pain.
Yeah.
Tremendous.
Yeah. The other thing I wanted to say is that we have a big push to have minimal to no screen time for kids as we go through. I mean, that's a big push, and and really, we talk about it for ADHD alone, but it's for everybody.
It's very addictive for ADHD.
I mean, the digital addiction is huge, and a lot of these kids are doing things that they shouldn't be doing. And so there's a couple of big voices out there in the space that we're doing an ADHD summit here in October that we're going to be pulling some of that. It's called Facing Realities of ADHD. Life is Better with You. We want people to understand that, you got to have these realities. We know what they are. And there are things that we could do to help kids live a better life. And that's what we're about. So you guys have been great. We really appreciate your time here.
We're so happy that you could spend this time with us.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
And Casey has a little bit of a podcast ending that we like to do for this month.
Right.
So as we close today's conversation, we want to remind every parent, every caregiver, and educator listening, children with ADHD are bright, creative, and full of potential, but they also face challenges that can sometimes feel very overwhelming. Too often, these struggles can place them at higher risk for depression and thoughts of suicide. Talking openly, listening without judgment, and reaching out for support can make all the difference. If you are worried about your child, know that you are not alone. There are resources, professionals, and communities that are ready to walk and talk with you. During Suicide Prevention Month, let's commit to kindness, connection, and awareness. Every child deserves to feel seen, valued, and loved for exactly who they are. Together we can build a world where children with ADHD, and all children, not only survive, but truly thrive.
So we like to end with our motto. And
we need to do this.
Right.
If you or someone you love is struggling, please call or text 988, the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline, for immediate help. Hope and help are always within reach.
Yeah.
Okay, now.
And so we like to do this. We have a motto: life is better with you. And every child should know that their life is better with them in it. And parents, you need to tell your kids that and hug your kids. Give them a hug every day. Tell them how much you love them. And then our family motto is: today is the best day of your life, and tomorrow will be even better. And we hope that millions of people post that on their boards. And we have a story we tell is that our son Anthony would be running out of the house. He'd be yelling to me upstairs saying, "Dad, today's the best day of your life. Tomorrow's going to be even better."
No, it was more like, today's the best day of your life, and tomorrow's going to be even better.
We live with that, and that's what we share with everybody we come in touch with. So you guys are great. We appreciate all you're doing, Clark.
We could talk to you for hours and hours.
Yeah, thank you so much.
God bless y'all. Yeah. It's always fun. You hooked me up with Neil again. I hadn't talked with him in a while.
It's been a while.
It's great. It's great. Thank you.
Well, we hope to be having more conversations with both of you.
Listen.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Take care.
All the best. Thanks, everybody.
Bye-bye.